Hello, dear listener, and welcome. As the soft twilight of the day begins to deepen, and the world outside prepares for slumber, let us gently turn our minds inward, to a concept that has shaped the very fabric of human existence: civilization. Take a quiet, deep breath with me now, allowing your shoulders to soften, your mind to quiet, as we explore this profound idea together. Imagine, if you will, the vast tapestry of human history. For countless millennia, our ancestors lived in small, scattered groups, moving with the rhythms of nature, hunting, gathering, and adapting to the wild. But then, something remarkable began to unfold. Over time, these small groups coalesced, grew, and transformed, giving rise to what we now call a civilization. It's a term that carries a certain weight, a whisper of complexity, of grand designs, and intricate social structures. At its heart, a civilization is any complex society, a grand symphony of human endeavor, distinguished by certain fundamental melodies that intertwine to create its unique harmony. One of the most defining characteristics, a true cornerstone, is the development of the state. This isn't just a collection of people, but an organized entity, a framework that governs, protects, and guides. It's the invisible hand that begins to bring order to what might otherwise be chaos, creating a shared sense of identity and purpose across a larger population. With the emergence of the state, we also witness the rise of social stratification. Picture layers, like the earth itself, with each layer representing a different role, a different status. This forms a more or less rigid hierarchical structure, a division of labor where some may lead, others may farm, some may build, and others may create. It's a system designed to manage the growing complexity, to ensure that tasks are performed and resources are allocated, often with a ruling elite at the pinnacle, overseeing both the vibrant urban centers and the tranquil rural landscapes. And speaking of urban centers, another profound hallmark of civilization is urbanization. The very word whispers of cities, of dense populations gathering in settlements that become bustling hubs of activity. For much of human history, people lived dispersed across the land. But with civilization, we see the magnetic pull of the city, drawing people together, fostering new forms of interaction, and creating a need for more sophisticated ways to live side by side. These densely populated settlements become the beating heart of a civilization, radiating influence and drawing in resources from the surrounding regions. Perhaps one of the most astonishing leaps, a silent revolution that still echoes in our lives today, is the development of symbolic systems of communication beyond signed or spoken languages. In essence, this means writing systems. Imagine the sheer power of being able to record thoughts, laws, histories, and stories, transcending the limits of memory and the spoken word. Writing allows knowledge to accumulate, to be passed down through generations with precision, enabling administration, trade, and even abstract thought to flourish in ways previously unimaginable. It's the very memory of a civilization, inscribed on clay, papyrus, or stone, whispering its secrets across the centuries. These complex societies, these civilizations, are not just theoretical constructs, they are living, breathing entities. They are organized around these vibrant, densely populated settlements, where the division of labor becomes increasingly specialized. You might find a farmer tending vast fields, a miner extracting precious resources from the earth, artisans engaged in small-scale manufacture, and merchants facilitating intricate trade networks. This concentration of human activity and ingenuity, of collective effort, creates a profound shift. It concentrates power, extending human control not only over the rest of nature, bending landscapes and harnessing rivers, but also, quite significantly, over other human beings. It's a powerful dynamic, this ability to organize, to direct, and to command resources and labor on an unprecedented scale. Reflect for a moment on the sheer marvel of what civilizations manifest. They are characterized by elaborate agriculture, systems that feed vast populations, ensuring sustenance and stability. Think of the grand architecture, structures that reach for the sky or delve deep into the earth, monuments to human ambition and skill. Consider the intricate infrastructure, the roads that connect, the aqueducts that bring water, the systems that enable a complex society to function. And of course, there is technological advancement, a continuous striving for innovation, for better tools, more efficient methods. To manage this complexity, we see the invention of currency, allowing for standardized exchange, the implementation of taxation to fund collective projects, the establishment of regulation to maintain order, and the ever-increasing specialization of labor, where individuals hone specific skills that contribute to the greater whole. Historically, the concept of civilization has often carried an implicit comparison, an understanding that it represented a larger and more advanced culture. This was often in contrast to smaller, supposedly less advanced cultures, even societies found within civilizations themselves. Generally, we see civilization contrasting with non-centralized tribal societies, with the adaptable cultures of nomadic pastoralists who followed their herds, with the early Neolithic societies that were just beginning to settle, or with the ancient hunter-gatherers whose lives were intimately woven with the natural world. This distinction isn't meant to diminish the richness and wisdom of those diverse cultures, but rather to highlight a specific trajectory of societal organization, one that moves towards greater scale, deeper complexity, and a different relationship with both nature and human social structures. The very word, civilization, carries its own history, its own echo of origins. It relates directly to the Latin word civitas, which means city. This etymological root offers a beautifully simple yet profound insight. As the National Geographic Society has explained it, this is why the most basic definition of the word civilization is a society made up of cities. Imagine the powerful shift represented by this single idea, from scattered homesteads to the vibrant, pulsing heart of a city, a place where people gather, where ideas spark, and where the future begins to take shape. The earliest emergence of these complex societies, these cradles of civilization, is generally connected with the final, transformative stages of the Neolithic Revolution. Picture, if you will, the Fertile Crescent of West Asia, a time when humanity began to transition from a nomadic existence to settled agricultural life. This period culminated in what historians refer to as the Urban Revolution and the profound process of state formation. It was a relatively rapid unfolding, considering the vastness of human prehistory, a political development intrinsically associated with the appearance of a governing elite. These were the first organizers, the first visionaries, who saw the potential for large-scale cooperation and the benefits of a more ordered existence. They were the architects of new ways of living, laying the very foundations upon which all subsequent civilizations would build. Let us now gently drift further into the history of the concept itself, tracing how this potent word, civilization, has evolved in our minds. The English word civilization has its roots in the French civilize, meaning civilized. This, in turn, comes from the Latin civilis, or civil, which is deeply connected to civis, meaning citizen, and, as we've explored, civitas, the city. Notice how the idea of being civilized is inherently linked to living in a city, to being a citizen, to participating in a shared civic life. One of the foundational thinkers to truly unravel this intricate idea was Norbert Elias, in his seminal work, The Civilizing Process, from 1939. Elias meticulously traced the evolution of social mores, the subtle and often unconscious rules of behavior that govern our interactions, from the rigid courtly society of the medieval period right through to the early modern era. He illuminated how our manners, our self-control, our very sense of propriety, are not innate, but are learned, internalized aspects of living in increasingly complex and interdependent societies. It's a gentle reminder that being civilized is a continuous process, a refinement of behavior and sensibility that shapes us even today. However, the idea of civilization isn't solely about material progress or refined manners. Albert Schweitzer, in his The Philosophy of Civilization, 1923, offered a crucial distinction. He outlined two opinions, one purely material, focusing only on tangible advancements, and the other, far richer, encompassing both material and ethical dimensions. Schweitzer gravely warned that the world crisis of his time stemmed from humanity losing this ethical idea of civilization. For him, true civilization was the sum total of all progress made by man in every sphere of action and from every point of view insofar as the progress helps towards the spiritual perfecting of individuals as the progress of all progress. This is a profound thought, that the ultimate measure of our collective journey isn't just how high our buildings reach, or how advanced our technology becomes, but how much it contributes to the spiritual and ethical growth of each and every person. Related words like civility developed in the mid-16th century, signaling a growing awareness of polite and orderly social conduct. But the abstract noun, civilization, meaning civilized condition, emerged later, in the 1760s, once again from French. The first recorded use in French was in 1757, by Victor de Riquetti, Marquis de Mirabeau, a figure of the Enlightenment. And the first known use in English is attributed to the Scottish philosopher Adam Ferguson, who, in his 1767 essay on the history of civil society, wrote with hopeful prose that not only the individual advances from infancy to manhood but the species itself from rudeness to civilization. This idea, born in the Age of Enlightenment, positioned civilization directly in opposition to barbarism, or rudeness, as an active, conscious pursuit of progress, a journey away from the perceived chaos of a less organized existence. It was a vision of humanity striving upwards, continually refining itself and its societies. During the late 1700s and early 1800s, especially amidst the fervent ideals of the French Revolution, the term civilization was predominantly used in the singular. It wasn't about many civilizations, but about civilization as a singular, grand concept, representing the progress of humanity as a whole, a collective march forward. This perspective, seeing our shared human journey as a unified advance, still deeply influences the French language today. But as the 19th century progressed, and particularly in the later 20th century, the use of civilizations as a countable noun, in the plural, became much more common. Sometimes, it was even used interchangeably with culture, a word that itself began as an uncountable noun, made countable in the context of ethnography. However, this interchangeability, equating civilization directly with culture, is often seen as controversial and is generally rejected by many scholars. It's a subtle but important distinction. While all civilizations encompass cultures, not all cultures are considered civilizations. The specific criteria of state development, social stratification, urbanization, and writing systems, which we discussed earlier, are crucial for distinguishing a civilization from other forms of human culture. To speak of a medieval civilization might seem natural to us today, but in Elias's original sense, focused on the civilizing process of manners, it would have been an oxymoron, because the concept was more about a state of being, a refinement, rather than a specific historical period or society. Yet, even in the 18th century, as the idea of civilization was taking root, it was not always universally seen as an unmitigated improvement. A historically significant distinction between culture and civilization emerged, particularly in the writings of Jean-Jacques Rousseau. In his profound work about education, Émile Rousseau suggested a compelling counter-narrative. He posited that civilization, with its emphasis on rationality and its intricate social structures, might not be entirely in accord with our deepest human nature. He suggested that human wholeness is achievable only through the recovery of or approximation to an original discursive or pre-rational natural unity. This is the essence of the idea often called the noble savage, a notion that perhaps, in a simpler, more natural state, humanity was more complete, more integrated, less fragmented by the demands and artifice of complex society. From this fertile ground of Rousseau's thought, a new approach blossomed, particularly in Germany. Philosophers such as Johann Gottfried Herder, and later Kierkegaard and Nietzsche, expanded upon this critique. They began to see cultures not as products of conscious, rational design, but as organic entities, born of a pre-rational folk spirit, a deep, intuitive expression of a people's soul. Civilization, in this view, while undoubtedly more rational, more organized, and more successful in terms of material progress, was also seen as potentially unnatural. It could lead, they argued, to the vices of social life: guile, hypocrisy, envy, and avarice. Imagine, for a moment, the quiet irony that in our very attempts to perfect society, to create order and abundance, we might inadvertently cultivate these darker facets of human nature, born of competition, comparison, and the endless desires sparked by communal living. This rich tapestry of thought reminds us that civilization is not a simple, monolithic concept, but a dynamic, evolving idea, constantly under scrutiny and reevaluation. It is a testament to humanity's incredible capacity for organization, innovation, and collective endeavor. Yet, it also invites us to ponder the cost of this complexity, the delicate balance between our innate nature and the structures we build, between material progress and spiritual well-being. As you drift now towards a peaceful sleep, allow these thoughts to gently settle within you. Consider the magnificent journey of humanity, from scattered groups to vast, intricate civilizations. Think of the cities that rise from the earth, the languages that bridge minds, the systems that organize millions. And as you do, remember the quiet questions raised by thinkers through the ages. What does it truly mean to be civilized? How do we balance our drive for progress with our deepest human truths? How do we nurture not just the material, but the ethical and spiritual dimensions of our collective existence? Let these complex, yet profoundly human, ideas accompany you into your dreams. May your rest be deep, restorative, and filled with a sense of wonder at the incredible journey we, as humanity, are all a part of. Sleep well, dear listener.